busy slide, but these presentations are available. You can have a look at it. Also have a look at Gartner's slide. Please note it's 2008. The 2009 one was released this month, and I just put it on at the end so that you can view it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you see some of the technologies going through the trigger phase, peak of inflated expectations, disillusionment, enlightenment, and then maximum productivity. You see them all happening here. And I'm going to look at one or two very briefly. Let's look at OSS, or open source software. Where do we sit with open source in government? Everybody should be jumping on the bandwagon and saying let's use it. Because it cuts down on what you and I pay as tax money, doesn't it? Are we doing it? Let's see. As far back as 2007, Cabinet approved the free open source software policy. 2007. We have a status or a position right now where the OSS stack is fairly mature, and I'm referring to such products as OpenOffice, ECM, Desktop, and so on. But what's our progress? Largely invisible. Largely invisible. Are you aware of any open source utility software that's being used, that you are using? It's largely invisible, but you'll be surprised to learn that many websites, many network operating systems, the back end, have you heard of something called Apache? All of those are open source. And they're running fairly well. Some people will swear by it. Now, what about the issues? I firmly believe that ICT industry is not being competitive. And maybe at this point I should put out a challenge to them and say, should CETA create this capability? Bring government's IT up? Should we do that and compete with the industry? No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it, not at all. We are an agency, and we are relying on all of you to come up and help us do this. But it was passed in, when was it? 1997? 2007? 2 years ago. Nothing's happening. Why? Somebody spoke this morning about doing the little things to help us in the municipal space. The last speaker. I think this is one area where we can do the little things and bring about massive, massive changes. Now, for today, I'm going to very quickly, I know I'm taking a lot of time, okay? I'm going to look at the trough of disillusionment. Because all the hype is now past, it's gone, it's forgotten. We are now reaching a sense of maturity, and this is where it's going to start going up. I'm going to look at, excuse me, I'm going to look at master data management. And it's a mouthful, I know, so I'm not going to read everything. I'm just going to simply say to you, what is this master data management? And I'm going to refer, from a government perspective, to the IFMS project. Are you aware of that project? It's a major project that Treasury has tasked CETA to become involved in and to develop a financial ERP type system. The purpose, as I said, is to develop a government-wide master data management solution. The status, we finished some of the pilot projects. There are some pilots running, and the program is on track. This does not include many other projects being done by government. One of them is the health e-records system, and so forth. There's e-natus, and so forth and so forth. Many other projects the government is trying now to group the data. RFID, I don't have to speak too much about RFID. I want you to look at the position that it's in the hype cycle. By definition, we know what it is. But I want you to pause and say, it's a mechanism used to track and identify assets. So you walk into a building with a laptop, you walk out carrying somebody else's laptop, it should stop you and say, okay, it's not yours. listed at the bottom of the screen the typical usage and various departments, and maybe we should look at health. We have a situation where TB patients they're trying to control the movement of the TB patients who have the latest resistance to drugs. Very difficult. Why not give them a nice bracelet? Do something like that. So I'm talking to the industry. Bring us the solutions. Some of them. Right. Yes, invited. Correct. No. Correct. Exactly. And it's simply putting on a little bracelet that looks nice and doesn't look like you're a prisoner. It can be done. So come on, ladies and gentlemen. Your businesses that you represent. Possibility. But I don't think it will sell as easily as a bracelet. They liken it to my dog. She's got one. Shared services. Okay, now that's a concept which I firmly believe. Okay? What is shared services? Very briefly, ladies and gentlemen, it's taking the HR functions, it's taking the finance functions, the IT functions from entities like government departments, grouping them into a standalone entity under certain conditions, rules, and so forth, and letting them run. Now we have such examples, as you see. Firstly, the IFMS that I mentioned very briefly. Secondly, our infrastructure within CETA is doing exactly that. All government systems sit on our mainframes, which are consolidated in various parts of the country. So already it's a shared services to all departments. And then we have something like Gauteng Shared Services Center, which is operating. All of these operate to a greater or lesser extent, but I think the secret here is to see where it's not operating, modify it and make it work. And the bottom line is directed at transforming government service and also transforming the cost of government. It's not a swear word, it simply relates to government-wide enterprise architecture. And without going into much detail, GUIA says put together the architecture for service delivery in a particular way. Put it together in a particular way, and standards have already been set based on the open group architecture framework. The next two technologies, wikis, XML, and I'm going to go through them very quickly. We all know what wikis are, but I think wikis talk to us about citizen involvement, where even with IFMS, wikis are being used to collaboratively put together all documentation. So it's quite useful. We heard it this morning about somebody saying something very challenging about their boss on Facebook. That's what we are referring to. We're talking about citizens getting together and collaborating. Not by swearing the bosses now, but doing something like that. Open document format, it's already accepted by government as a standard. And many products already support it, like Office. Then three concepts that I want to look at briefly, but they're grouped. You see which part of the hype cycle they're in. Now I hope as you're sitting here, you see some of these technologies move up and become more mainstream. We'll be looking, for example, at SOA. SOA is service-orientated architecture. Very briefly then, in the layman's language, it's taking services and packaging them in a different way. Instead of the old-fashioned way. An example here will be Home Affairs. You do know that if you apply for an ID, you can SMS a number and they'll tell you where in the process your document is. This is such an example. Business intelligence. I know I don't have to talk much here, except to say that business intelligence gives business trends and patterns. And typical examples would be WhatsApps, crime fighting, various departments to understand their own business themselves. And I'm not saying this negatively, I'm saying it exceptionally positively. And then what about the concept of war rooms, where a war room can be used to coordinate service delivery in the case of natural disasters? All of this powered by various applications of business intelligence. ECM, on the other hand, refers precisely to the management of content, no matter what format it is. It could be in any format, as long as it's data or content important to the business, it's then managed. And that's basically ECM. And as you can see, there are some examples of open source software that already does it.